Ryan, Fashanu. Oh, what a goal! Oh, that's a magnificent goal!
127 years. This is the length of time it would take for a footballer to come out as gay following the foundation of the Football Association. 127 years. It took until 1990 for any professional footballer to come out, which is mind-blowing to me. And knowing the fate of the first player that showed this courage, I believe it's put many footballers off doing the same. Homophobia is still a huge issue in men's football. There was only one openly gay player in England's top 4 divisions, that being then Blackpool's Jake Daniels, who has since become a free agent, leaving 0. In contrast, multiple female footballers have come out as lesbian, including many of the Euro 2025 winning England side and countless Women's Super League and international stars. Going back to 1990, ex-Norwich City player Justin Fashanu became the first ever professional footballer to come out as gay in an exclusive interview with The Sun. He faced severe criticism and ridicule during the remainder of his playing career, with himself revealing in 1991 that no club had offered him a full-time contract following the initial Sun news story. Tragically, he was found hanged in a garage in 1998 following an allegation of from a 17-year-old. Fashanu's life and career is one of the most interesting but heartbreaking, but why has his career had so much impact on men's football even to this day? This is Deep Dive. Fashanu was born in Hackney, and he and his brother John were initially raised by their parents, their father being a Nigerian barrister and their mother being a Guyanese nurse. Following the splitting of his parents, the Fashanu brothers were sent to a Barnardo's care home before being fostered by a couple and brought up in a small parish in Norfolk called Shropham. Fashanu's talents were initially not associated with football, as he was rumoured to pursue a professional boxing career instead of a football career. This never transpired, and football became top priority after he was scouted by Norwich City scout John Sainty in a school match between Attleborough High School and Thetford Grammar School in 1974. Fashanu began an apprenticeship with Norwich for a few years before signing a professional contract with the Canaries in December 1978. 1 month later, Fashanu made his league debut against West Bromwich Albion on the 13th of January 1979 in a 1-1 draw at just 17 years of age. He would end up slotting right into this Canaries side, which featured stars such as Duncan Forbes, a Scot who spent 33 years at the club in playing and staff roles, and Kevin Keelan, who is still to this day the record appearance maker for Norwich with 673 total appearances. The following season, Fashanu would score 11 league goals, including a flick up and left-footed volley from the edge of the box against Liverpool in a 5-3 defeat, which won BBC Match of the Day's Goal of the Season. In 1981, Fashanu netted 19 times in the league, but it wasn't enough to save the Canaries from relegation. This opened the door for a move away from Norwich. And it was the very recent European champions Nottingham Forest that came calling. Brian Clough secured a £1 million deal to sign Fashanu in the summer of 1981, making him the first black footballer to cost £1 million. His career kind of stalled under Clough, as the manager was seemingly disturbed by Fashanu's visits to gay clubs. This was then more or less confirmed when he was barred from training with the team after Brian found out that he was gay. He was loaned to Southampton and looked sure to sign with them permanently, but the Saints lacked the funds to complete the deal, so instead, Fashanu signed for Notts County for £150,000. Despite 20 goals in 64 games, he couldn't help the Magpies avoid back-to-back relegations, so decided to move once again to Brighton and Hove Albion for £115,000. With the Seagulls, Fashanu suffered a knee injury which seemingly ended his career. After surgery in America, he began playing again for Los Angeles Heat and Canadian side Edmonton Brickmen. He returned to British football in 1989 and joined Manchester City, but later left for West Ham the same year before joining Leyton Orient in March of 1990. In October 1990, Fashanu did something that had never been seen before from an active footballer. In an exclusive with The Sun, he publicly came out as gay, being the first footballer to do so and the only prominent footballer to do so in English professional football until 32 years later, when then Blackpool's Jake Daniels came out. The Sun, when revealing this information to the public, ran the headline, £1 million soccer star, I am gay, Justin Fashanu confesses. With this being the first time this has happened, nobody quite knew what the response would be. As it turns out, this reveal only made things worse for him. After a spell in Canada with Edmonton Oilers, I don't know where I got Edmonton Oilers from in the script, considering they're a hockey team. I think I meant Hamilton Steelers and Toronto Blizzard, so ignore that. Anyway, Continue. Fashanu returned to England for the first time since coming out and joined semi-professional outfit Leatherhead before going on a trial with Newcastle United. Unfortunately, he was not offered a permanent contract and later joined Torquay United for 2 years. After applying for the role as player manager in 1993, he was turned down in favour of Neil Warnock of all people. Despite scoring 15 times in 41 games, Fashanu couldn't help turn around Torquay's poor form, and he left to join Scottish side Airdrieonians. However, they too suffered relegation at the end of that season. After a brief spell with Swedish side Trelleborg, he joined his fourth side in 1993 alone, returning to Scotland to play for Heart of Midlothian, or Hearts as they're more commonly known by. In February 1994, Fashanu's contract was terminated by the club for, quote, unprofessional conduct. It was later confirmed that this unprofessional conduct was down to him attempting to sell false stories to the press regarding himself and other cabinet ministers. Following his termination, he returned to America to coach youth football before joining Atlanta Ruckus for 2 years. His final move saw him move to Miramar Rangers in 1997, scoring 12 goals in 18 league games for the New Zealand powerhouse. It was after his stint with Miramar when he officially announced his retirement from professional football at the age of 36. A career spanning 19 years and 22 different teams, and if you think 22 teams is ludicrous for a career, that's because it is. Fashanu revealed in 1991 that after he came out in the press, no side had offered him a full-time contract, forcing him to chop and change between multiple different clubs in multiple different countries. After his retirement from football, he moved again back to America, to Ellicott City, Maryland, to coach the Maryland Mania, a team that had played just one season in the USL A-League in 1999, a league that was the second tier of American football, but has since folded. During pre-season, however, Fashanu fled the country following an allegation from a 17-year-old from Maryland that Fashanu had stabbed him after a night of drinking. At the time of the allegation, homosexual acts in the state of Maryland were illegal, as same-sex sexual activity with an equal age of consent wasn't legal until 1999, with it being codified as recent as 2023. Before 1999, Maryland law did not explicitly criminalise homosexual acts between consenting adults in private. However, the state did have laws against sodomy and other sexual offences that could be interpreted to apply to homosexual acts, thus meaning that if Fashanu was found to be guilty, he could face multiple years in prison. He was questioned about this alleged event by the police on the 3rd of April, but was not held in custody. The police later arrived at his flat with a warrant to arrest him on charges of second-degree assault, first-degree assault and second-degree assault, but he had already fled to England. On the morning of the 3rd of May, Fashanu was found hanged in a garage in Shoreditch at the age of 37. He left a suicide note in which he disclosed information on the allegation, stating that the sex was consensual and that he would not get a fair trial due to his homosexuality, saying, "I realise that I had already been presumed guilty. I do not want to give any more embarrassment to my friends and family." It was later found out that the warrant issued to Fashanu was for offences punishable by up to 20 years in prison. But, of course, this never transpired, and instead, a life was cut short because of an unwillingness to accept one's differences. As previously mentioned, I believe that Fashanu's experiences during his career has put many players off doing the same, simply because of the potential backlash they might receive. Unfortunately, it's simply impossible to eliminate homophobia from men's football, and will most likely exist for many decades to come. I think this makes Fashanu's story just that little bit more unique, however, and will always remind us of the first footballer to come out as gay. Fashanu's legacy lives on. A Netflix film titled The Forbidden Games, The Justin Fashanu Story, was released in 2017, and a large mural was painted onto the Fat Cat and Canary pub in Norwich in 2023. A player who, for the first time in recorded history, triumphed over fear and confessed to the world, which turned into tragedy just 8 years later. It'll be a long time until the footballing world forgets Justin Fashanu.